There's a sadness that lingers throughout Child of Light. It's communicated in the neglected environments overgrown with foliage, and the tired inhabitants wasting their days. I could feel it in the whimsical language, whose rhythmic cadence underscores the sense of bewilderment that's ever present. And there's the music, the quiet piano score, that hammers home the desperation. Child of Light owns its sadness, flipping its fairy tale facade into one of quiet contemplation, and soon you're as sad as a citizen struggling in this world. Such sadness didn't push me away from Child of Light. Well, the early going was difficult, as I expected lightheartedness that never came. But once I became accustomed to its somber tone, I embraced the melancholy. It's rare to find an adventure that isn't fixated on empowerment, where there's little more than a dim light to reach out for. And it's incredibly effective if you allow it in your heart. Aurora is a princess who spends her days and nights by her father's side. One night she rested her head and never awakened, at least not in her home kingdom. Her father was beside himself. His tears would not abate, nor would he do his kingly duties. Meanwhile, Aurora found herself in another world, one filled with sleeping giants and talking mice, lost jesters and punished gnomes, and she finds companions who will lean on her when their troubles become overwhelming. Aurora soars with a firefly named Igniculus by her side. Yes, the princess is imbued with flight to aid her in her attempt to escape, and rarely must you touch ground once you've tasted the clouds. There's a kinetic freedom that momentarily lets you forget your problems, but that doesn't last long. Thorns and gates and waterfalls keep you trapped within a narrow path, tempering any enthusiasm. Such restrictions fit within the themes of Child of Light, though I long for the simple running and jumping from the opening moments. Exploring the world on foot had a tactile feel that drew me into this environment more effectively than the ethereal, detached flying. Fly you must, though, so stretch your wings when you can, because there are monsters about who take issue with your presence. Fights can be avoided if you wish, but Aurora has a sword and a heart that longs for something better, so she faces her enemies with a steely gaze. Although you take turns attacking, defending, or healing during these showdowns, managing time is just as important as swinging a sword. You and your enemies are in a race to see who can cast an attack first, and you can manipulate events in your favor with Igniculus. He can slow down foes or heal you, so there's an intense rhythm as you vie to launch an offensive before you face retaliation. The combat is as enchanting as the painterly artistic style, and the one piece where sadness doesn't dwell. It's here that Aurora and her companions forget their larger problems to focus on the threat before them. Maximizing your speed is a constant challenge in which a moment of laxness can erase your hard efforts. Attack with the right elements, cast haste when you're falling behind, and interrupt their advances to keep your enemies frustrated. Such duels tax your abilities, demanding quick reactions and even quicker decision-making. I often felt overmatched in the tougher fights. Sure, I wouldn't be able to overcome the deviousness before me, but I never faltered. Child of Light does an amazing job of challenging without becoming overbearing, and that echoes through in the story. Aurora too is at her wit's end, but never succumbs to her own doubts. Child of Light is a remarkable adventure in part because of how different it is. The enticing combat is easy to praise because of how immediate and satisfying it is. But I could say the same thing about too many games to count. What drew me into Child of Light is how confident it is in its own sadness. It shows how engaging games can be that aren't entirely fun, that make me feel an emotion that's all too rare. It's a game that makes me want to hug a loved one, or just sit quietly while I think about what transpired. Child of Light is a sad, somber adventure, and I couldn't be happier about that.